welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. Don't forget, every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm going to have some horror news, a new opinion piece, or a new interview for you to check out. But don't forget, throughout the week, I am dropping countless reviews in the world of horror, whether it's movies, TV shows, games, books, whatever. You don't want to miss any of that, and the best way to stay on top of everything I'm dropping in my channel is to get subscribed to my link tree. You can do that by going to linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed to my link tree, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page with video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms, the audio-only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for my written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content, including movie news and movie premieres, to my Twitch page where you can enjoy my horror gaming, including Phasmophobia for PlayStation VR 2, and to my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy my 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop, including a subscription to the physical magazine. Take advantage of that, folks. Hit that subscribe button, as the more followers I get, more content I can drop for all of you. And don't forget, in the month of November, if you comment on any of the videos I post, you'll be entered for a chance to win the novel adaptation of X, written by Tim Wagner, a name you should know because that man has written quite a few novelizations of films that we know and love. Again, comment on any video in the month of November, get a chance to win a copy of X. I am going to talk about this on the show sometime in the coming weeks. So what are we talking about here tonight, folks? We've had a bevy of new horror coming out in September and October for the Halloween season. I'm sure it has seemed hard to keep up with all of it, folks. There's still one more I got to jump into because we're still playing catch up on some stuff we haven't hit on the show yet. So we're going to talk about a horror film that got released on Devil's Night, Netflix's most recent horror release here on Halloween Eve, the time-traveling slasher. Tonight we are discussing Timecut. And if you haven't seen this one, let's not waste any time and jump right on in. Timecut tells the story of Lucy Field, who lives in the shadow of her older sister Summer, who was tragically murdered by a serial killer back in 2003. But due to a random circumstance, Lucy stumbles upon a time machine that sends her 20 years in the past, giving her a chance to connect with the sister she never knew and potentially save her life. But will Lucy save her sister's life and still be able to protect her own future? Find out in Timecut. And there it is, folks. Another time-traveling horror film. We've had a few of those over the years now. Most recently, I'm sure the one y'all are thinking of is Totally Killer, that hit Prime Video last year. Now, Totally Killer took us back to the 80s. It focuses on a young woman whose mother is killed by another infamous serial killer wearing a Max Headroom mask, of all things. And again, when she stumbles upon a time machine, is sent back in the 80s and given the chance to not only save her mother's life, but the friends of her mother as well, too. Now, that film relied a lot on the 80s aesthetic, the music, the clothing, the way that folks talk to each other. A lot of that was pushed on you. And one of the things that stands out with a lot of these time-traveling horror films is that there's always some kind of comparison to Back to the Future, which is the best, or at least one of the top time-traveling films we've ever had. But the thing about Back to the Future, though, is that even being set back in the 50s, Back to the Future does a wonderful job of just letting you get immersed where Marty McFly goes back in time. The film itself is not really that focused on the time frame itself, because it's about Marty's interaction with his parents and trying to make sure that he's stillborn, but also make sure his parents don't get killed or horrible things happen to them as well. It's a great comedy, but there is some good drama in that one. And the thing is that not long after Marty gets back to the 50s, you kind of forget, in the best of ways, because the script and the way that it's done just does a great job of making you just accept that you're in the 50s and everything around you screams that. They don't have to beat you over the head with that. Time-traveling movies over the last 10 to 15 years have kind of struggled with it, because I think that a lot of filmmakers, a lot of writers think that the way that you can show that the best is just by slapping everybody with a bunch of songs from that era and getting you the right style of dress. And that does help in some ways. While I didn't like Totally Killer, Totally Killer being set in the 80s makes it so far removed from current times that everything does seem incredibly different. It's kind of like seeing Lisa Frankenstein, another film set pretty much around the same time that I absolutely loved, and that very much feels like a dated film. It's a period piece. And while Totally Killer does a good job with that aspect of it, I think the problem with it is that it doesn't balance the other stuff well enough for me. I wasn't a big fan of the reveal of the killers in that film, the motivations behind it all. I didn't find myself jiving with that too much, and I thought that some of the aspects of the slasher just weren't played up well enough. Like, it was mostly played for laughs than anything else, honestly. And that's coming from a film that actually was pretty gory, honestly. And in Timecut, what's interesting is that they don't lean into the comedy that could probably be evoked from that kind of setting. And there should be some good jokes coming out of it. We had some terrible style, some terrible music, some terrible shit that we talked about back in the early 2000s. But I think the issue with that, though, is that we're not that far removed from 2003 that stuff can seem that different. There are good jokes in there about cell phones being walking computers, about social media. But outside of that, it seems that the best way to get you to know that we're in the early 2000s is to slap you with a Fat Joe and Ashanti song a few times throughout the film, which I love. What's Love? That's a great, great song. And that's the theme for this movie for sure. But in reality, they just didn't do, I don't know if it's a case of they didn't do a good enough job of getting us that feeling of being immersed in the early 2000s, or if it's just, it's only been 20 years and things just haven't changed enough to where it should feel all that different. Could be a bit of both, little column A, little column B. Y'all let me know in the comment section, because I'm curious how you feel about the time traveling aspects of Timecut. Now, the drama in it works really, really well. You know, Madison Bailey, who we know from Outer Banks, Antonia Gentry, Griffin Gluck make up our leads here. And the three work really, really well as a trio. I think the sister-sister relationship between Lucy and Summer is the best part of this film, because one of the downsides of Back to the Future and Totally Killer and other time travel movies like that is that a lot of times it's focused on a kid getting to make this friendship with their parents and learn a different side of their parents. They're cool, they're not cool, you know, whatever the case is. That's fine, but you kind of want to get more representation of what if you're hanging out with somebody the same age who's kind of just like you. Can you learn more? And giving Lucy this whole story to where she didn't even know her sister before her sister was murdered, she wasn't born yet, that she literally doesn't know anything about her except for the grief that her parents hand down to her, these memories that she sees in her room, you know, Buffy posters and everything. That's all that she knows of her. So it gives her this chance to actually build this genuine friendship with her older sister, Summer. And I think that's one of the best parts of the film, because we see Summer is actually this really, really cool, like, person who actually cares about her friends, who's conflicted with love in her life right now. And going from 2003, she really would be amazed to see where the world is right now, for better or for worse. And so that relationship that she builds with Lucy, again, is one of the strongest parts of it. And Griffin Gluck, who plays Quinn, who is, you know, a friend of Summer, ends up being Lucy's, like, helper in this film, does a great job playing support, because there's a little bit of a twist with Quinn in this as well too, in regards to his relationship with the Field sisters. And I love the fact that we can see this kind of relationship between two girls and a guy back set in 2003, and there's no question about that at all. The movie plays that very straight, even with some expected hiccups in there, that still works. So I think the drama element of Timecut works extremely well. Something about it just screams it could have worked really well with the Fear Street title slapped on that. And I don't know why, because it's not that violent of a movie. Like, we get a few deaths in it, but it doesn't really show anything, and Fear Street did not hold back from that at all. But I don't know, maybe it's the way it was shot. Maybe it's because it's set in the early 2000s, which is close enough to the 90s. It just feels like it would have been a Fear Street movie in that franchise. I don't know. But on that note, I also think that it would have made more sense for this to be set in the 90s than the early 2000s. I'm not sure if our writer-director team, Michael Kennedy, who you know like from Freaky and It's a Wonderful Knife, Hannah McPherson, who also directed the film, there might be a close personal tie to the early 2000s, and I respect that, but it does very much seem like the 90s, no matter what time frame that would have been in, would have given them a little bit more to play with in terms of not slapping us in the face with the time frame that they're in, but it still feels very much removed. I think a lot of folks would agree with that when it comes to things that are set in the 90s versus the early 2000s. 2000s. Bit of an uphill struggle for Timecut. This is not going to make you a fan. If you're a big fan of Totally Killer, Happy Death Day, even Time Crimes, this is probably not going to be on the level that you want it to because the horror just isn't there. Time traveling aspect doesn't work that well because the 2000s just aren't that different. But if you are looking for a good drama with a bit of sci-fi in there and a few thrills, Timecut will be for you. Let me know either way in the comment section what you think, folks. You can check Timecut out right now on Netflix and hit that subscribe button. I got more great reviews coming for you, including I'm starting my coverage of season 1 of Penny Dreadful. You don't want to miss that at all. Folks, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared. Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So, if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022 and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.